Thank you for calling, Mr. Newland. I know the red telephone will be a nice birthday present for your daughter.
I'm sure it will. Thank you, Miss Blake.
You're welcome. Goodbye. Up you go, Mr. Newland. Hope you enjoy being number 5 for the day. Well, sure, these are records. Customers' records. But to me, they're, I don't know, something more. They've got to be. These are the people I have to live with and understand 5 days a week. They're pretty important to me, too. A lot of people in here. A lot of good days. Bad ones. A lot of fun. Happy experiences. Plenty of rough ones. And a lot of learning. Golly, you people, all of you, Mrs. Periwinkle, and Mr. Newland, Mr. Bronson, and Mrs. Merrill. How can I ever forget Mrs. Merrill, or any of you? Because of you and my supervisor, Marge, I'm really able to help and serve the people I talk to every day. But it wasn't once you all seemed so hard to talk to.
Just one telephone, dear. One's enough.
My apartment's too small.
Just put it in the center of the house. We'll get to it.
5 telephones in one house? Ridiculous, I tell you, ridiculous.
Well, an awful lot of my contacts seemed difficult. They scared me when I first started on the desk. These were the people in my city who needed my help, the telephone knowledge I'd been given. And I guess I didn't quite understand how to get to them. Although I was eager and anxious, I liked to talk to them. Liked my job, too. But, as I said before, learning from people and my supervisor, I found a way to help customers know about, use, and enjoy our telephone service. It's called 4 Steps to Sales. 1, fact-finding. 2, making the recommendation. 3, answering objections when they come up. 4, closing the sale, asking the customer to use our service. And up here on top, that's what we call the platform of sales. For me, this is an outline, a simple, organized plan. The only way I know to guide myself. To get the facts necessary to make a logical recommendation, so I can suggest to a customer quickly what telephone service he needs. Tell him what he needs and why. Answering any questions he might have about the recommendation I made. And closing, asking the customer to accept and use the service recommended. Well, these 4 steps have worked wonders for me and for the customer. It's a way to match the customer with the proper telephone service. And if you follow the 4 steps, it can lead to some pretty exciting contacts. This first step, getting the facts. Well, we get certain facts to handle any contact. But the things we have to know in order to give our customers the best, most complete telephone service are the number of rooms, the number of floors, and who uses the service. From what we find out, we have to decide what telephone service people really need. Terrific challenge, finding things out about people, especially when you can't see them. Pretty satisfying. Fun, too, if it comes out right. But if it doesn't, well, on this first step, getting the facts, that's where Mrs. Periwinkle came in. She was one of the first contacts I ever had.
Hello, this is Mrs. Roberta Periwinkle. We're moving into a new house next month.
I'll be glad to help you, Mrs. Periwinkle. May I have your telephone number, please?
Main 4, 1984.
May I have your new address, please?
2645 Woodbridge Road.
Is it a bigger house, Mrs. Periwinkle?
Yes.
Thank you. If you'll wait just a moment, I'll get your card out of the file so I'll be able to help you better. Just one telephone. Moving to a bigger house. Good chance to ask about additional sets. Maybe color, too. Here we are, Mrs. Periwinkle.
Yes?
Since you're moving to a bigger house, would you consider having some additional telephones?
No. One's enough.
Oh. Well, now, we can have a man out to your new address on the 17th. Will you be home at that time? I felt, well, unsatisfied. You know how you feel when a contact doesn't go right? She needed more than one telephone. Well, I believe everybody with more than one room to live in needs additional telephones. Yet I couldn't find out how many rooms her new house had. Couldn't even find out the number of people who were going to use the service. I had no more facts than when I began the contact. I wondered if maybe the kinds of questions I'd asked, how I asked them, if maybe that wasn't the key to getting facts. Well, I was determined to try, and I didn't have long to wait when I got another call.
My name is Newland, George Newland.
How can I help you, Mr. Newland?
I want to get a telephone.
Have you ever applied for a telephone before, sir?
Sure, have one. 2, in fact. Been a customer of yours for over 20 years. But not in this city, in Hawkinsville.
I see. I suppose your company is transferring you here?
That's right. I'm to be division sales manager.
That's wonderful, Mr. Newland. Could you tell me the name of your company, please, for our records?
Simons and Company.
Uh-huh. What will your new address be?
298 Ivy Road.
That's a lovely neighborhood. Now, how many rooms will your new house have?
Look, I didn't call to give you a short history of my life.
You know where the house is.
Now, all I want to find out is how long it'll take to get a couple of phones put in.
Golly, Mr. Newland, we want to give you the best possible telephone service we can. That's why it's important for us to know certain facts. If we know the number of rooms, then we can help you choose the best placement of telephones. If we know how many people there are in your family, well, we can suggest service that's the most comfortable and convenient.
Well, all right, that seems fair enough. What do you want to know?
Something about your new home, Mr. Newland. How many rooms has it?
7. 4 bedrooms. Got 3 kids to put in them.
Do they all use the telephone?
Well, not the 2 boys so much, but my daughter. Seems like she never stops using it.
Well, once I really made it clear that I was interested in helping. He told me about his wife, teenage daughter, 2 younger sons. And that house with all those rooms, 2 floors and a basement. A terrific opportunity. I was so excited I could hardly wait to start recommending telephones. And that's when I found out about step number 2, making the recommendation. Yep, I jumped right into step 2 with both my heads. Oh, my goodness, Mr. Newland. With your family and that house, you need an individual line and many more than 2 telephones.
I do?
Oh, yes. Of course, the one in the master bedroom's fine.
Good.
Let's see. Cost for 1 telephone will be $6.20 a month plus tax and $4.50 for installation. How's that sound?
Okay.
Then you need an additional telephone for the kitchen. Don't you think so?
Well, I never thought of that.
Only cost another $1.25. And one for the basement. That's $1.25 more.
No, I don't think so.
Well, what do you think about an additional telephone for the living room, sir? Maybe in color. We have some lovely colors, and they're only $10 more apiece.
I never considered one there.
Well, I'm sure you'll consider having another telephone in your daughter's room, won't you, Miss? In color?
No, no, no. Sounds like we'd be tangled up in telephones. I feel we should just have what we've always had, a telephone in the hall and one in the master bedroom. Worked before, stick to what we're used to.
I remember. I finished with Mr. Newland. and tumbled right off my happy pink cloud. I was quietly consoling myself for losing Mr. Newland when Marge, my supervisor, came by and asked me if anything was wrong. I told Marge about Mr. Newland, how I went through step number 1, got my facts, the kind of questions I'd asked, the information he volunteered. But when I started on step number 2, recommendations, well, I guess I just don't know how to make recommendations.
No. I think the number of telephones you wanted to recommend was right. It's just... Well, you read the ads in the papers, Jennifer.
Sure, especially the Sunday ones.
Well, ever notice how nowadays they advertise in kind of units? I mean, you don't just see a refrigerator or a stove, but the whole kitchen. Everything fitted in place. And cars, they don't just sell the body, but heaters, radio, everything.
Come to think of it, you hardly ever see a skirt or dress by itself anymore, but with all the accessories that really make it pay off.
The complete picture.
Golly, I recommended additional telephones room by room. No wonder Mr. Newland felt like he was all tangled up in telephones. You know, I'll bet he would have accepted the recommendation if I'd done it as a whole instead of piece by piece. And I know just what I'd recommend for him. Let's see. Bedrooms, living room, kitchen, dining room, basement. Well, of course, an individual like. Then first, Mr. Newland, I'd put a telephone in the kitchen. It's really convenient. One here for comfort, here for convenience. This one and this one for privacy. There. That's complete telephone service for your home, Mr. Newland. Really terrific.
No, no, no. 5 telephones in one house? Who ever heard of that?
Would really be wonderful service, Mr. Newland. It fits perfectly.
Not for me, it doesn't. The front hall's centrally located. My daughter's got enough energy to walk to the phone. Costs too much.
Guess you need more than just recommending complete service.
You need reasons. Reasons that mean something to the customer.
Oh?
Well, when you get the facts, you've got to interpret them in terms of what you know, or what your training's taught you about our equipment. The things you know about how you and your family live, how your friends live. You take the facts, what you know about people, you come up with reasons.
Gee, like with 3 children, Mrs. Newland must spend an awful lot of time in the kitchen.